we will have an aerial distribution network as well. So basically, we need to come up with a new standard to deal with aerial distribution network locations. So same thing, we separate it into 3 different sizes. For a small MDU, it's over here. So the splitter will maintain it at the cabinet or the F50. Once again, for the same reason, we split it into that 3 sizes, up to 4 customer connections, 5 to 8, and 9 to 12. Same reason again, because of the for the aerial distribution network, the OFDC boxes will be used as the aerial FAT. So the same size constraints apply. So for up to the 4 customer connection, we know that we have that 4-span rule that we cannot install more than 4 lead-ins for a single pole. So that's why we have this for up to 4 customer connection. We say, can you feed individual lead-ins from same pole? So if you can install individual 2-fiber drop cables, or if you can't, you can install a 12-fiber ADSS cable and terminate it into a UD2S in the MDU. Then for 5 to 6 customer connection, you only need 12 fibers, and then for 7 to 12 customer connection, you need 24-fiber ADSS cable. The RFP for cable supply has just been completed, and Prysmian will be the supplier of the cables. So we know that they have 12-fiber ADSS cable, they have 24-fiber ADSS cable. We are having discussions with them to see if they can supply 8-fiber, 16-fiber, or 24-fiber ADSS cable. The reason why we want these 3 sizes is mainly just to maintain consistency with the size of the OFDC. Right. So we are still not sure if they can supply that type of cable size or not, but we will update you with the information once we know. But in the meantime, we maintain it as 12-fiber and 24-fiber for now. For the mid-size MDU, for 13 to 48 custom connection, we install a 12-fiber ADSS cable and from your aerial FAT and terminate it into your Woody I-50. And for the large size MDU, because we need to terminate the lead-in cable directly to the feeder side, so we can't install it into your aerial distribution cable. So for a large MDU, we basically say we do not feed the MDU from an aerial network. We will feed it direct from an underground network. Okay. Is that all right? Okay. So from the lead-in, we now go into the distribution network. So for a small MDU, there is basically no distribution network because your lead-in is either a direct drop cable from your communal into each customer connection, or your lead-in is basically terminated into an internal FAT and then direct drop cable from the FAT. So there is practically no distribution network. Okay. So for a medium-sized MDU, your lead-in terminates into a Woody I-50, and because of the change of the Woody I-50 from the connectorized version to the spliced version, there is the limitation of the current Woody I-50 is changed. So for the current Woody I-50, because of the location of the connectors below here, there is limited space for you to manage fiber. So with this type of Woody I-50, you cannot manage direct drop cables. You cannot manage airborne fiber. You can only install your HDU cable as a pre-connectorized cable into this box. So that's the limitation of this box. Right. But with the new spliced version Woody I-50, you have more space between. So you can install, for example, your airborne microducts. You can have direct drop cables into it, or you can install your verticasa cable as distribution. So with this new box, then we have the choice of do we want to do a direct drop cable from your woody IFFP? So if you want to drop direct 2-fiber drop cables, then you just install either your indoor ribbon or your 2-fiber drop cables into this box. If you want to install a distribution cable, for example, your verticasa cable, then you just install it and lay 2 fibers per customer into each tray. So in this box, you do not install the HDU cable. The reason being, the HDU cable is a pre-connectorized cable, and there's no connector in here. So you do not need the connectors at all. So don't install HDU cable and cut the connectors, because it's extremely expensive. Okay. So the distribution cable goes up the riser. Your verticasa cable goes up the riser and terminate into either a woody 1S or 2S in the riser for each floor. The woody 2S capacity is up to 6 customers. The woody 1S is up to 24 customer connections. So depending on how many customer connections you have per floor, you choose whichever internal pad you require. And then from the woody 1S to 2S, you just install your 2-fiber drop cables. Okay, and then for a large MDU, we talk about how many customer connections is there in the MDU. So as what Phil explained earlier, in the GPS IFFP, you have the limitation of how many microducts you can manage within that GPS IFFP. So that's the question of how many customers it is. If it's within 144 customer connection, then potentially you can install ribbon microduct into it. Right? But you also have to take into consideration the design of the building itself, because as installers you will know that microducts are not the easiest thing to manage, especially band management. So, and usually within the building you have pillars, a lot of 90-degree bends, which makes it very difficult to install your ribbon. So take that into consideration if it's easy to manage or not. Most of the time it's not easy to manage, so we will prefer you to install a network that is usable rather than install a cheap solution which we may not be able to provision later on in the future. So in the current MDU document, it talks about microduct being the preferred solution, but that is purely on an economic point of view. Right? It's only preferred because it's the cheaper option compared to fixed fiber. But the revised document, it will say, fixed fiber being the preferred solution rather than microduct, because of practical reasons. So we will prefer you to install fixed fiber rather than microduct. Okay, so if we go to the fixed fiber distribution cable solution, then we have that limitation of, is it within 100 meters? So that 100 meter is not talking about the distance between your IFFP and the furthest pad. It's the distance, or rather it's the length of the cable. HDU cables, with the pre-connectorized HDU cable, it comes in fixed lengths, and the maximum length is 100 meters. Right? So if it's within 100 meters, then you can install it by using the HDU cable. But if you require more than 100 meters, you cannot use the HDU cable. You will have to use the verticasa cable. Right? So the HDU cable, the advantage is that it's pre-connectorized, so you do not need to do any splicing in the IFFP. But limitation is 100 meters maximum. For the verticasa cable, it comes in a drum of 6 kilometers, 8 kilometers, so you can have whatever length you require, but it's not pre-connectorized, so you need to splice it in the GPS line. So that's the two differences between HDU cable and the verticasa.
Can I just bring up one thing just now, because we're doing a verticasa job now,
yep.
And we picked up the cable, 118 meter coil.
Yeah.
Which we then have to try and manage within the building, or find an empty drum to load it onto.
Yeah.
Not the easiest. 118 meters of cable, and you're trying to run it down a building. It's a working environment. down, I would imagine there are plenty of spare empty drums floating around the depot.
Yeah.
If we can pick it up already on an old second-hand drum, rather than a 118 metre coil that we have to try and manhandle within a working environment, would be a lot easier.
So basically, there's two ways that Brisbane supply the Brisbane cable. They have a cut-to-length service, which basically, you order whatever length you want, or you order based on drum, which I think that's what Downers is doing, which they order, I think a 6 kilometer drum into your containerization depot, and they pan out whatever length you require. So basically, in the way that Downers manage it, they buy it as a drum. However, they want to take it out. That is how they work. It has nothing to do with chorus. Basically.
Okay, well, I mean, anyone that's run cable will know trying to find enough room on the floor to handle 118 metres of cable.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, I mean, if you have that pain point, then probably you need to talk to Downers logistics person to say you prefer it in a drum, ask him to
Yeah, I mean, there must be empty drums sitting around the depot here somewhere that you can load some onto.
Yeah. So probably you have to talk to someone from
Downers. I will.
Okay, so you run either HDU cable or vertical cable up the riser, terminate it into the UDI 1S or 2S depending on what's the capacity you require. And then from the UDI 1S or 2S, you install a standard 2-fiber drop cable, the same type of cable that you install for a single dwelling unit 2-fiber drop lead-in, just the same type of cable. Or you can install the express drop cable, which is a pre-connectorized 2-fiber cable. The express drop cable is only suitable to be installed with the OFDC box because you require connectors, which is over here. So we have found some people who are ordering express drop cables, cutting off the connectors and then splicing it into your internal FET, which is, what's the point? Just use your standard 2-fiber drop cable. Express drop cable is only to be used with OFDC boxes. Okay, so if you have air-blown network, you can either install a single-way microduct to blow 2-fiber EPFU, or for example, if you have multiple customers along a corridor, then you can either install a 4-way or 7-way indoor microduct and blow 2-fiber EPFU through it. Okay. So that's the distribution and drop side of the network. So is there any question on it?